This video is going to be very comprehensive. It's going to be a lot of information, but I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. And essentially we're going to talk about healing and programming. It's going to be quite a lot to take in, and you need to prepare yourself. Let's say that right now, in life, you want to be free. And when I say free, I mean even down to the smallest little things. You don't even want to have any pain. Sure, of course, you don't want to be sad or overwhelmed. You want to be totally happy and powerful, whole and complete in your power, happy. First of all, let's just make it clear that to have this type of experience is a mindset, it's an intent. We're probably going to talk a little bit more about that, but really try to understand that for yourself. There is no amount of healing that is going to create this for you. You see, if you had a little pain, let's say, and you dealt with that pain, then you just still have the same type of experience you had previously, just without the pain. And the same goes for any type of trauma, any type of fear, any type of whatever it should be. If you deal with it, then you have just overcome it. And you're just sitting there and having whatever type of experience you have, with or without that thing. I hope that makes sense. What I'm trying to say right now is that if you want to be happy, you need to choose to be happy. If you want to be someone who is powerful, you need to choose to be someone who is powerful. All of that isn't going to come from dealing with whatever is bothering you. When you have dealt with whatever is bothering you, the things that are bothering you are simply just not bothering you anymore. And sure, if you do a lot of that, you're probably going to increase your source self-connection and naturally tap into the natural power. And that power comes with natural happiness and so on. But it's not a very productive way of getting to the point of power, wholeness, and happiness. Simply just choose to be powerful and happy, and you're going to be powerful and happy. Now, when this is said, we're going to go a bit more in depth on approaches to really healing and overcoming. We have previously, in the 2 last videos, talked about how to overcome anything with a simple mindset of facing the things that are bothering you. And we have talked about tapping, massage, EFT. But in this video I'm going to remind you of a very essential thing that might come in the way of any type of healing that you might want to do. And in short terms, it's overeating. Believe it or not. You can imagine lighting a candle and holding your hand over the flame, to the point to where the flame is touching your hand. You will have to be really powerful, really mind over matter, for you to be able to handle that. Let's say for 20 minutes. To hold your hand there without the hand starting to char and burn. You can't even deal with that with EFT, unless you are very powerful. You have to be really powerful to do that. So what I'm saying here is that if you want to truly be in your power after having eaten 10 pizzas, then you probably know yourself that it's going to be tremendously difficult. So what I just said is essentially that if you are having troubles with overcoming certain things, when using the simple technique of facing it and accepting, or even EFT, tapping, massage, then try to become aware of whether or not you are overeating. And when I say overeating, become aware of your portion sizes. That's first and foremost. If you know that you have good portion sizes, then try to become aware of if you are eating too often. You really don't want to do that. We can talk about a lot of things that might be considered very similar to overeating. Tips and tricks that you can do that will make it easier for you to stay in power. All of this is really not a matter of are you doing enough cold showers and things like it. Are you walking enough bare feet on the grass? If you're overeating, that is probably the worst thing you can do. Sure, it creates gallstones and it clogs the liver, but if you ever overeat, even once, then you are going to naturally be driven towards doing it again, and it becomes a habit. It becomes your way of life. And keeping things a bit clean and optimal in the belly. I'm not talking about eating 60 different ingredients every day to have a rich microbiome. We don't need to be crazy about anything here. Keep it simple. Just don't overeat. And you really can eat whatever you want, as long as you don't overeat. Don't overeat even once. And by that I mean that you absolutely can overeat. Sure, go ahead. It's totally fine. I'm just saying, don't do it. Overeating is going to create a lot of problems. If you have any type of pain in your body that you're struggling with removing with your intent or with EFT, really take a look at whether or not you're overeating. That is definitely the problem. Sure, we can talk about mindsets, which of course is important. As a Source player, you would want to be someone who is strong, someone who can eat whatever you want. You don't want to go 1 year and eat something that you really enjoy, but at the same time you're judging it. How is that going to accumulate over a year? What is that going to do? How is that going to affect you in your energies? You're going to become kind of sour. You don't want to do that. Eat whatever you want, but don't judge it. And do not overeat. Ever. Now, if you know that you aren't overeating, then maybe you're eating too often. I would highly suggest that you try to become aware of it. The best way to do that would be to put on a stopwatch on your phone. When you are done eating, then you put on the stopwatch. You want to wait at least 2 hours before you eat again. But you really can become aware if you are still digesting. If you still are digesting, then you really don't want to start eating again. So maybe wait 3 hours. If you can wait 3 hours, that's very good. Now, you really don't want to drink before you eat. Keep the drinking to a minimum while you eat, before you eat, and after you eat. If you can keep it to 0, that's best. But what I'm saying here is that overeating really is the big bad one. On second place, you have eating too often. If you know that you're doing any of these two, then you really need to deal with that before you can truly be powerful in your ability to deal with things efficiently on the go. Also, if you have pains or issues, it's probably just a matter of overeating. Now, if you know that you aren't overeating, and you know that you aren't eating too often, then have a look at whether or not you're drinking a lot of water in between meals and while you're eating, if you know that you aren't, but you still have some issues, then EFT and your intent is going to work just fine. It's going to work perfectly. Okay, I realize there is one more thing I need to mention. If you know that you aren't overeating, and you know that you aren't diluting all of your food with a lot of fluids, but you're still having troubles, or pains, or health issues, you really need to do the liver cleanse. Trust me. You have to do it several times. Now, if you do that, then things are going to really work for you. Trust me. You might need to really do the liver cleanse. Do you kind of think that you have to? Does it make sense? Do you kind of sense that it would really benefit you? If you think it would, then do it. Go ahead and do it. It's going to give you some type of unlock that you cannot get in any other way. And we are talking about unlocking a type of power that is highly essential, a type of power that you really need, and unless you do the liver cleanse, you're not going to really be able to unlock that power. You can of course train yourself well, no matter what, and be able to handle things really well, and if you then do the liver cleanse, you will really break through again. But why not just do the liver cleanse now if you think that you would benefit from it? If you know that you have been overeating a lot in life, you really need to do the liver cleanse. You have to. Also, I want to mention that when it comes to the portion sizes, don't eat anything that's bigger than your fist, unless it's a salad. You know, if you took all that pizza and you crammed it together, how big would it be? It shouldn't be bigger than your fist. If it is, then you're eating too much. Now let's talk a little bit more about EFT, because it really is very efficient. Of course, that is if you know that you aren't overeating or eating too often, or drinking too much fluids while you eat and in between meals. And when I say in between meals, I mean too close to the meals. The acids and whatever in your body that is digesting the food needs to be strong, and you don't want to dilute them with anything. It's totally fine to have a little soda with the food, sure, but don't overdo it. Before we talk a little bit more about the EFT, then think a little about what I just said. What could it possibly be, other than food and overconsumption, that is hindering you from being able to deal with even the smallest little things? What could it be? Obviously, it's not that you aren't having enough cold showers. Sure, if the room you are staying in is full of mold, that's not good. But no amount of apple cider vinegar is going to help you with overeating. But can you understand that if you are overeating constantly, then it needs to be dealt with, and you deal with it by cutting down the portion sizes. You can't just drink apple cider vinegar or whatever it is you think. You have to cut down the portion sizes. Hopefully you can see that it is pretty simple. We can talk about what overeating is doing to the body. Inflammation, constipation, making it impossible to digest. Your belly is your second mind. It needs to be clean for you to have a clean experience. If it is clogged up, you are going to experience a totally different type of experience. It's going to be very difficult to keep it completely 9/11 if you are clogged up. Just control the overeating, really. If you do that, then you're going to have big success with your intent, with facing things, naturally staying happy, staying whole and complete, and in some instances, maybe you might find it reasonable to just use EFT. EFT, tapping, massage. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that now. If you were to become aware of something that you want to overcome and neutralize, let's say that you are still overeating, but you want to use EFT, it's going to work a little bit. It is. Of course, if you can stop overeating, then in a few days, maybe a week, 2 weeks, things are going to really change for you. EFT is going to work really efficiently. You have to understand it's just a matter of making things flow in your body. If you have energies that are stuck up, then you just need to make them flow. You can do that by tapping or massaging, or using your intent to visualize that it opens up. And of course, understand that you really can do anything that works for you. You can use your hands and visualize the energy opening up things. You can use the pillar spin. You can do anything. You can do anything that works for you. Your imagination is powerful. Do whatever works for you. You know, of course, optimally, we would want to just use our intent. If we recognize that the energy in any way, shape or form is a little stagnant, or there is some pain, or there is some darkness, we want to just visualize it flowing, being open and neutralized, and then we experience it. This is of course what you intend for. It is if you notice that this is difficult for you with some things, that you might want to use EFT. Now let's talk a little bit more about the EFT and why it might not have worked for you. Obviously, we just mentioned that you might have been overeating. That's going to hinder it. Another thing could be that you are moving through it too quickly. It is when you find a spot that is very satisfactory to tap, that you are on the right spot. If you are tapping like this and you feel that it feels good in a sense, then you continue tapping there. Give it half a minute if you want, and then you finish off here till you feel the pulse. Then you breathe in deep, you relax, and you're probably going to feel great release. You see, it all really is very simple. It really is. It is simple. Please understand that. Now, if you have benefited from this video, kindly consider becoming a supporter. Abundance, health and prosperity to you. Thank you so much.